So why did I trade my Corvette Stingray for another vehicle? A Corvette is such a fun car. They are sleek, sexy, fun, fast, furious, all of the above. So what would have triggered me to trade it in for something new? Any guesses? In fact, down in the comments below, write what vehicle you think I purchased. Do not say a minivan. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I like a very sporty car, if you know what I mean. Now, don't click out just yet, because I know the majority of you are here for the decorating. This will be a decorating video, but of a different kind. If you are intrigued, if you are curious, stick around, because this story is full of excitement, adventure, disappointment, sadness, oh great sadness, but with a very, very happy ending. So one thing my husband absolutely loves about me is that I'm not just your average girly girl. I am a girly girl, very much so, but there's a whole other side of me you guys don't know about. I like big cars and I cannot lie. So basically, if you thought I had a decorating obsession, well, I've got another one. Cars. I love cars. Okay, are you guys ready to know what vehicle I purchased? Drum roll. A Jeep. Not just any old Jeep. Wait for it. So I know what you guys are thinking. Liz, really? You traded a Corvette for a Jeep? Yes, I traded a Corvette for a Jeep. So my story starts back in the year 2008. I was in the market for a new vehicle and my husband said, what kind of car do you want to get? And I said, gosh, I'd really love a convertible, you know, wind in my hair. He said, but you have the 4 little kids you always drive around with car seats and all that. How are you going to get a convertible? I said, I don't know, but I'm going to make it happen. You see, he was driving around in cool cars and I wanted to drive around in a cool car. I was tired of the mom vehicles. So I did my research and I came to him and I said, I would like a Jeep. He said, Liz, a Jeep is not going to sit 6 people. I said, we're going to make it work. I'll find a way. So we found a company that makes custom Jeep seats specifically to go in the back. And I told my husband it's no different than those old station wagons back in the 80s where all the kids used to fight over who got to sit in the very back, you know, where the seats faced outward. Do any of you remember those? Well, that's exactly what happened. We ordered the custom seat. We had it bolted in. It had the seat belt. So whoever sat back there, they were safe. It also left plenty of room for groceries and luggage. So we made it work. Now, once we started taking the Jeep out on the road, there was a whole new experience that was like over our head. And that was the Jeep wave. Every time we drove past somebody, they would be like, you know, everywhere we went. In fact, the very first day we took it out, we kept getting the, you know, that we actually pulled over because we thought something must be wrong with the Jeep because everybody's like waving us down. Come to find out, it's a Jeep phenomenon. Everybody who owns a Jeep, it's a common occurrence. When you pass someone in a Jeep, it's like, so being inexperienced, we bought a 2-wheel drive Jeep. Hello, in the state of Virginia, where we've got, you know, rain, snow, and sleet. Not a smart thing to do. So we decided, you know, also being young, like, well, we need to keep this car at least 2 years and then we'll trade it in. So we kept it 2 years. And just about the time that the 2 years was up, something was rattling in the car that was driving my husband nuts. And so he went on a Jeep forum and he learned, you know, to troubleshoot the issue, which he did. And he also learned that there was a Jeep club in the area and they were welcoming new members on this particular night. Like, everybody meet at Buffalo Wild Wings, you know, all new members come and everybody else, all is welcome. And you would write in the forum like, I'm in or I'm not in, I've got things to do. So, and then the people would tally up how many people were gonna go. They would let the restaurant know. Everybody would show up at a certain time. Everybody would line their Jeeps up, all the different Jeep styles, makes and models. And we would all have a pleasant dinner together, talk Jeeps, talk family, talk trails, talk adventure. And from that point on, this girl was hooked. Hook, line, and sinker. At that dinner, they were talking about upcoming events. And the next event was going to be a trail run up through the forest. And I think there were like 50 people signed up to go. And I was really nervous about going because we only had a 2-wheel drive Jeep. And I had been asking some of the people there, will a 2-wheel drive Jeep make it up the mountain? And a lot of people said, yes, it will, but you're going to go slower than everybody else. You're going to have obstacles and you may have trouble with ground clearance, like getting over rocks and boulders. And so after we left the dinner, I told my husband, I said, I think it's time. It's time. We need to upgrade to a Rubicon. And he said, I agree. So we went to the dealership. We traded the 2-wheel drive black Jeep for a silver Rubicon. And of course, my motto is go big or go home. So I told my husband, if we're going to keep up with the big boys, we need big tires. So we ordered 35-inch tires and new rims, and we were going to do a build, like a small build on it, which we did. And then we went, once we got all that done, we went on the next trail run, and that was even more fun because we weren't as nervous about hitting things underneath the Jeep. And then we went on another trail run, and then another trail run, and then another trail run. And it got to the point where my husband and I were bickering over who got to drive because it is so much fun to be on a trail behind the wheel. And I said, hey, get your own Jeep. This is my Jeep, buddy. And so he did. He got himself a Rubicon. And we got CB radios for each vehicle. And we started going on the trails with the Jeep Club and without the Jeep Club. And that started the whole Jeeping adventure of, I can't even explain how fun it is to be on the trail. This whole experience literally opens doors that you never would have otherwise experienced. Let me explain. So here's a good analogy. You know, say you want to take a scenic drive, right? And you're meandering down the beautiful roads, up and down, until you reach the lookout point. And then when you're at the lookout point, you're just like taking in the view. And you're like, oh, it's so pretty. But in a Jeep, on an actual trail, going through actual rivers, over actual boulders, through grassy forests full of wildflowers, it's just no comparison. It literally feels like you're in a whole new world. And we went on a Jeep run. It was somewhere in Pennsylvania. I can't remember where, Roush Creek or something like that. Anyway, it was a beautiful summer, and we went with a whole bunch of people. It was an overnight trip where everybody camped, and they had different trails designated for beginners, intermediate, and beyond. And so you would go with certain groups. And I literally felt like I was in the Jurassic Park movie. It was that beautiful. We were having so much fun. Again, I was bitten by, everybody there said you have been bitten by the Jeep bug. But all of them have had experienced that too, because it's a whole new way of life. You really become one with nature. And to be out on a trail through a beautiful forest, taking in the lakes and seeing the bugs and the wildflowers and the beautiful sky. And let's just say it just does it for me. It's just amazing So during those years, our social calendar was full. We were like on the trail every single weekend, whether it be with a Jeep Club event, or oftentimes we would break off into smaller groups, and sometimes on the forum, someone would say, hey, I'm going to go down this trail this weekend. Anyone want to join me? And then all those who wanted to join and had free time that weekend, we would all meet up at a certain place. We would go run a trail, stop for dinner, and then all of us would disperse home because we all lived in different areas. And it was so much fun. So we all look forward to seeing each other on the weekends and being out in nature, having some fun wheeling. And all of us would take our GoPro cameras and we would, record the events. It was a blast, even with the kids. Like, people would bring their kids, people would bring grandparents would come. Just a blast. Even in our garage, we had her Jeep and his Jeep signs. And so whenever we would drive in, mine would go here, his would go here. And we just had so much fun. Like, I would update something, then he would update something. He would update something, I would update something. And it was just a blast. But then we ended up moving to Washington State. And I will tell you that back in the day, you didn't typically see women behind the wheel of a Jeep. It was predominantly males. Now, a lot of women would go with their spouses, their boyfriends, grandparents, whatever. But you hardly ever saw a girl behind the wheel. I was pretty much, back in the day, when I went with these groups, the only girl that was actually driving a Jeep behind the wheel. So anyway, fast forward to Washington State. Wheeling there is completely different than wheeling here in Virginia. The mountains out there make the Virginia mountains look like hills. And so we got in with the Jeep Club out there. It was a huge Jeep Club. And we met some people that said, hey, if you want to come with us, we're a smaller Jeep Club, like 4 to 6, maybe 7 Jeeps tops. And we go out on the weekends. It's kind of nice because with a big Jeep Club, sometimes you have to stop a lot. Someone's got to use the restroom. Something broke on their car, and it holds the whole group up on the trail. So going with a smaller group allows you to kind of keep it moving and see a lot more trails. And so we decided to start going with this one group. Well, we became really good friends with them. And I will tell you, they rode the intermediate to scary trails. I don't know what they're called. Intermediate to the scary trail. I don't know what you call it. I'm blanking right now. Little did we know, this group that we started to get in with did the big trails, the real boulders and high climbs up in the mountain and stuff. So I was very intimidated because here I am, the only girl behind the wheel, and I'm having to keep up with the big boys that are used to driving these crazy trails. So I learned really fast how to drive my Jeep and how to maneuver. And when you do these trails, you always have a spotter, especially when you're going to do an obstacle where you go over a boulder, or you're going over a tiny bridge or a small path, whatever. You usually have somebody that goes through it, they get out, and then they spot you, like, come this way, okay, go a little bit over, no, driver's side, no, passenger side, turn your wheels, passenger side, okay, come straight forward. So I really learned how to wheel some of the more challenging stuff by having really good spotters. And anyway, long story short, I decided I wanted to go bigger with my tires. And so I went with 37s. I went from 35s to 37s, and I did a bigger lift. And so that was even more fun. And so I've now approached a huge obstacle of boulders where you're literally kind of going off camber like this, and then there's boulders all right here, and then a little drop down. So once we got there, we all stopped our Jeeps before this huge obstacle, and we all kind of talked about it. Okay, we got to take the slow and steady. you know, and just simply crawl over the rock gently. You never want to gun it. And so these guys are talking to me like I am 4 years old. Okay, Liz, are you ready? Okay, what we're going to do is John's going to go up there and he is going to spot you. And you're going to get through this just fine. Just follow his lead. I was like, okay, boys, really? I got this. I appreciate that, but I got this. And they would not take no for an answer. They're all standing around waiting for me to screw up. And I said, I literally leaned out my window. I was like, hey guys, I got this. I need you to get out of my way. I don't want to hurt any of you. Keep in mind, some of these guys were running around on 33s and 35-inch tires, and I had just put 37s on. And so I wasn't concerned. I'm like, if anyone's going to get over this, it's going to be me because I'm the one that has the big tires. And I went over it like a knife through butter. And those guys were all standing around using their GoPro cameras, and their mouths had dropped because they couldn't believe how I did it so well with such ease. And I was like, yes, I showed them. Yes. You know, and then once I got over the obstacle, I went and parked my Jeep. I got out, and then I was like standing there like, okay, guys, let's see what you got. Anyone need a spot? And do you know that every single one of them got hung up on a rock? And I just stood back, and I wanted to say so badly, hey, boys, you want me to get my winch and pull you out? Let's just say they had a newfound respect for me and my wheeling skills that day. Oh, yes, they did. I also found a new love of mudding. Oh, do I love the mud. And I'm going to have to show you a picture of my Jeep when I went through a mud puddle, and it was a huge one. I gunned it down a flat surface, and mud went everywhere. It was beautiful. Now, Jeeping through the seasons is such a beautiful thing. My favorite time to wheel through the forest is during fall because it's like a kaleidoscope of gorgeous, vibrant colors. And another time I absolutely love to wheel is during snow season. When we had a blizzard here, gosh, when was it? It was probably 2010. Don't quote me on that. All the Jeepers couldn't wait to get out into the snow and play. We were some of them. In fact, most of the Jeepers were the only ones that could get out to play in the snow because everyone else was stuck. So as you can see here, many of us were out playing in the snow. And here's some other pictures of me in the forest having fun. Such an adventure because you never know what lies around each corner. I love the challenges that lay ahead down any given trail. You know, coming up on a tree and a rock where you have to maneuver real close in between them, it's a challenge and it's fun. Again, doing simple modifications on the Jeep is also fun too. It's like a DIY craft on your Jeep. So if you don't think you can't get attached to a vehicle, oh yes you can. I am here to tell you, you sure can. And this is a very humorous story. You ready? Funny story. So we were off-roading in the mountains of Washington State, and I was coming down a steep incline of a mountain. And I was using my brakes a lot just to get down because it was steep. And as I was getting towards the end, I still had a ways to go, but I was getting close to the end. I went through a narrow passage where my right tire just barely tapped a stump. And guess what happened? This was a Sunday evening. It was also our daughter's birthday. And she said, we were doing a big Jeep adventure that day, and she said she wanted to go. The only caveat is by the time we got to the hotel, she wanted us to stop and get a birthday cake. And we're like, okay, sounds like fun, let's do it. So as I was saying, I'm coming down a steep incline of a mountain. I'm getting towards the end. My right tire just barely taps a stump. and my steering shaft broke. I couldn't even steer down the rest of the mountain. By the grace of God, I made it down. I had to literally just take my brakes, go a little bit, go a little bit, go a little bit. I finally make it down to the end of the mountain. I stop and I get my husband, because he had already made it down the mountain. He was like halfway down the road waiting for me. I said, we've got a problem. Oh, we've got a big problem. I can't steer, so we are stuck. There was no Wi-Fi connection, so I had to jump in my husband's Jeep, and we had to go, I don't know, like 30 minutes down the road just to get a connection. Try to get a tow truck on a Sunday evening. It's the sun's starting to set. And so finally we got one. By the time he got there, and we had to tow it all the way down the mountain. So that was an adventure. I'm going to insert some clips here. And then, because we promised our daughter, it must have been around 12 midnight. And by golly, we took her to the store and we got her birthday cake and whatever she wanted, because we felt so bad that her birthday evening got messed up. So anyway, it was an adventure we will all never forget. So here you can see the beautiful scenery we were taking in on this particular day. We were just having fun meandering through the forest and coming down off the mountain. Now, this is not the steep mountain I'm speaking of. I didn't get video of that, but I'm following my husband, and then this is the mountain I was coming down off of, where I hit a stump. And this is where I ended up. And this is the tow guy trying to prep the Jeep to get on the truck. What a day it was. An adventure we will never forget. I am very sentimental. I have a very sentimental heart. So this leads into my next story. I promise you I'm getting there. So I had that Jeep quite a long time, and I did a build after build after build on it. And at this point in time, I was sort of just wanting something different. So I asked my husband, I said, can I trade my Jeep for a convertible? And he's like, if that's what you want to do. And I said, it is. I'm just ready for some change, you know? And this is around the time that I was having some bad arthritis issues, and I just wanted something easy to get into. So I bought a convertible, and when I signed the dotted line and walked out the door with my new cart and keys, I looked behind at my Jeep. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get emotional. And I cried. And I thought, oh boy, I just made a huge, huge mistake. There were so many memories wrapped up in that car. So many wonderful memories. And I went home with my new car, and for 2 weeks, I literally cried over that stupid Jeep. And my husband said, oh my gosh, you really liked it. I said, I did, and I've made the worst mistake on the planet. Mind you, when I sold my Jeep, he decided to sell his. We always like to kind of get his and her cars. So I got a convertible, and he got the hard top version of what I got. And so we both sold our Jeeps, and he was a little sad too, but not nearly as sad as me. I was so invested in that Jeep, and I felt like it was almost like a child. Like I brought it up from a baby Jeep to a bigger Jeep to a bigger Jeep, and like I said, so many memories. So this is what happened. I told my husband, I said, I've got to try to get my Jeep back. I have to have that Jeep back. He said, well, go try to call the dealership. Let's see what they can do. So I called the dealership back, and they said, we're sorry, ma'am, your Jeep sold at auction like that. But we do have your husband's Jeep here. If you'd like to bring your car in, and you can buy your husband's Jeep back. And I went, I can. And they're like, yes, just come on down. We know that sometimes people have buyer's remorse, and we'll work with you. So basically when I went back, they basically said, we'll charge you for like the 2 months you had the other car. Think of it like a lease or like you were renting the car, and you'll just pay that portion and we'll give you your Jeep back. We did all the paperwork and I left with my husband's Jeep. I know, crazy. I am literally crazy, but I love Jeeps. So this goes into the next part of the story where my oldest daughter, she was just as heartbroken as I was when I sold my Jeep. And she was just a new driver, and she ended up started driving my husband's Jeep. And then I forgot to mention that I also had a lifted H2 Hummer that was like a show vehicle out of Florida, bells, whistles, subwoofer sound system like you've never seen, LED lights. It was a show vehicle. If I can find a picture, I'll insert it. So I started driving the Hummer, and my daughter started driving my husband's Jeep, which sort of defeated the purpose of me getting it back. But you know how us moms are. We're like, okay, take the car. So she started driving it. So at that point, I had the big H2 Hummer, and I decided to trade that in for a Camaro, which I loved. Oh my gosh. I still have it. But I traded that in for a Camaro, and then what did my husband do? He got a black Camaro. I got a white one, he got a black one. And we drove those for a few years and loved them. But all the while in the back of my head, I was like, I want a Jeep, but they're so darn expensive. And I didn't want to buy a used Jeep because we ended up buying a used Jeep for my other daughter. But like I said, this is just a very long story, so much to unpack, and I'm probably losing you by this point. But anyway, so we drove sports cars, and then we decided to get a Corvette, okay? Like I said, we love cars. And so, remember my daughter had an accident in the snow in the Camaro just several months ago. So it was a total loss. And so my husband unfortunately didn't have a car. So we've been playing Ring Around the Rosie with all of our cars. And so we were down a car basically, and it was getting more and more difficult having the Corvette with so many people in the family, because if we need to go somewhere, only 2 people can ride in it. So it was my husband's idea. He said, you think you want to trade the Corvette in for something else? And then I went, like what? Well, he's like, I don't know, let's look into it. And all in the back of my head, I'm thinking, Jeep, 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 you know? But they all had different plans. They all wanted me to get another truck. By the way, I've got a truck too. A big lifted, souped up truck with a 7-inch lift and big tires. So I'm telling you, cars are an obsession. So anyway, they wanted me to get the trucks. My daughter loves trucks too. My husband loves trucks. They were trying to get me to get a truck. And I was like, no. I held my ground. And then I found this place in town that sells it's a big 4x4 store. They sell the most awesome Jeeps on the planet. And so we went there last Friday. We were going to test drive them, which we did. And they were outrageously expensive, like 70, 80, 90, and 90,000 and up. And my husband's like, that's just too much. And he's like, if you're going to get the Jeep, you want to have the build that you want, not what somebody else put on. Because some of those Jeeps, they were throwing cheap lifts on or cheap, suspension stuff on. And he's like, it's not worth it. So he was trying to talk me into a stock Jeep, and I was like, are you kidding me, boy? I love big tires. Monster Jeeps, monster trucks, that's my thing. I said, I will not do stock. Guess what? He talked me into a stock Jeep. So the way my husband roped me into this whole scenario is he said, if you get this stock Jeep, we're getting it for a good deal. It was like 0% interest for 3 years. Okay, 3 years. then you can get your build. I said, what? I can get big tires? He said, yeah. I said, I can get a lift? He said, yeah. I said, I can get new fender flares and a new front and rear bumper and side rails? He said, yeah. He says, we're gonna build it. And I've got just the guy that can do it for us. And we're gonna go see him this Saturday, and he's going to build it for you. And we'll all be on the same page. I said, okay, deal. So here's the thing. I got a Jeep Wrangler JL Sport. I didn't get the Rubicon this time because I don't foresee myself doing anything crazy on the trails. But this one did have a really cool function. It has a sky top. Because let's just be honest, if any of you have Jeeps, you know that to get the hard top off or a soft top off, it's kind of a pain in the you-know-what. Or even the two top parts that you can like pop off, it's a little inconvenient. So the sky top, you just push a button and the whole top goes all the way back. And then the two back windows literally just pop off. And then you roll the windows down and you've got a full-blown Jeep convertible. I also got the diesel version. And let me tell you, we went all over town, different cities all last weekend, and we weren't even at empty. I was like, what? Okay, hello, Jeeps, gas guzzlers. You don't get very many miles per gallon. But with the diesel, oh my gosh, game changer. 500 miles a tank, 30 miles per gallon. Not bad. So when we talk about decorating is very important with a Jeep. And so I have carefully, craftfully decided exactly how I want this Jeep built. And they have build stages from 1 to 5. And 5 is like, woo, doom buggy, like craziness. It's like a monster Jeep. So I'm doing a stage 4 build. So I'm going to be getting 40-inch tires with a, how big a lift? A 4.5-inch lift. And I am getting some really cool stuff on this Jeep. I cannot wait. I think he said he would start it late, is it late June? Maybe late June, and maybe by the mid to end of July, it will be done, and I will be ready to show you my stage 4 Jeep build. I cannot wait. This is so exciting. When I was first thinking about my Jeep build, I thought, I want a Stormtrooper Jeep. That's what I'm gonna do. But I sort of changed it after seeing some modified versions. So I'm sort of going with an Arctic white with a lot of red accents. It's gonna be so bad, I won't say it, but it's gonna be cool. It's gonna look really great in the parking lot of Hobby Lobby and even better up in the mountains. We were wrapping up, buying the Jeep last Friday night, and they went to wash the car and detail it and gas it up for us, and they brought the keys out and said, okay, you're ready to go. And when I sat in that car, all these feelings and emotions came rushing right at me, and my eyes literally started filling with tears. Tears of happiness, tears of excitement, and just all those memories, all the fun laughter and music blasting and all the fun builds we've done, all the fun mountain adventures. It's like they just rushed right at me, and I felt like I was home. I know that sounds so crazy to say that you sit in a car and it feels like home, but it did. And so I'm super excited, and I know we have a lot of cars, but it's a hobby. It truly is a hobby. It's something that we all enjoy. All the kids, my husband, myself, and you got to do what you love. You got to have fun with your hobbies, or what's life for, You got to have fun. So for those of you who don't know much about Jeeps, now I've given you a little insight into the Jeeping world and all the Jeep fun you have when you own one. And I don't care how young, how old, or in between you are. If you are looking for some adventure, you do not have to do crazy jeeping out there on the forest trails. In fact, most people kind of like, they really don't want anyone tearing up the trail. So if you want to just get out and enjoy nature, open your life up to a whole new experience, I'm telling you, I highly, highly, highly recommend a Jeep. And I think you will find Jeep people are just fun, nice, laid back, down to earth people. I don't know, for us, that's important. And Jeep people are just, I don't know, for me, cream of the crop. So next time, if you're out and about and a big Jeep happens to pull up next to you, ask that person about their Jeep build and watch their face light up. So sometime in July, this Jeep should be done, and he's going to have it for 2 weeks doing the full build. I am just ecstatic, and I'll have to share it with you so you can see the excitement I'm talking about when you build a Jeep. It's literally like, I feel like I'm decorating my Jeep with bling. All right, friends, I know this is kind of a different kind of a video for me. I hope I've given you some new insight into some of my hobbies outside of decorating, and yeah, that's it. So I will see you guys in the next one. Have a great weekend, and thanks for hanging out with me today. Mwah. Bye, guys. All right, girls. Are you guys ready to drive? Courtney, ready? Kaylee, start it up.